This podcast is intended for mature audiences only.
Welcome back to the Cuckold Marriage Podcast, the show where nothing is hidden, nothing is filtered, and the conversations most couples are afraid to have are the ones that we dive into head first. I'm Lexie, and tonight we're talking about something that separates fantasy from disaster: boundaries, goals, and communication. But let's be honest, a lot of people think that this lifestyle is just about sex. They imagine the flirting, the tension, the anticipation of another man taking control of the moment, while a husband watches his wife become a little more wild, a little more confident, and a little more unacceptable. But the truth? The hottest moments don't happen because there are no rules. They happen because there are rules. The couples who thrive in this lifestyle are the ones who aren't reckless. They're the ones who know how to talk to each other, how to build trust, how to handle jealousy before it explodes, and how to choose the right kind of man to invite into their marriage. Tonight, Chris and I are pulling back the curtain on how we personally handle boundaries, goals, and communication, as well as emotional check-ins and the reality of interacting with goals in a healthy way. We're going to talk about what works, what absolutely doesn't, and why communication can either make this lifestyle intoxicating or completely destroy a relationship. So get comfortable and let's get into it. Let's start by introducing my subby, Chris.
Thanks, Lexie. So good to be back. I'm Chris Meadows here with Lexie Meadows, and we're excited to be with you today to talk about this really exciting topic about boundaries and goals and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's a critical conversation because if you don't get this part right, everything else kind of crumbles around it. So if you don't get the right boundaries set up, how you're going to interact when you introduce other people to the relationship, the whole thing just doesn't work. So before we get into that, let's go ahead and start with a couple of announcements like we always do. So first of all, thank you so much for supporting us through writing fan mail and giving us questions and giving us ideas for topics and just giving us feedback in general. You know what's amazing, Lexie, is we get feedback from all over the world, and there's a couple of themes. Number one, couples are watching together, which I think is really, really cool. How many actual emails we get saying, "Hey, I'm listening to this, or I'm watching this with my wife." That tells me that we're presenting something that is really striking a nerve in terms of just relationship dynamics in general. I get a lot of people saying, thank you for giving a voice to this. To my inner thoughts, which are really cool too.
Okay.
And then just a lot of compliments about our dynamic, which is nice because I think we try to just be fun here and be a little bit more casual. But we need more of your feedback. We need more questions. We need more confessions from you as well. So please just click on the note that says send fan mail. Send us a voicemail drop with a confession. Send us a note with a question. If you're watching on YouTube, it's podcast at cuckoldlexie.com. Send us a question, send us a thought. If you have an inquiry, you want to get in touch with Lexie about coaching, that's the way that you do it, is all through reaching out to us that way. Secondly, want to make sure that you are all having access and getting more personal with Lexie through her Fansly page. So your cuckoldress Lexie on there, but the best way to find her is actually just go through her website, cuckoldlexie.com. And then that'll link you back to her Fansly, get some fun videos, some fun kind of just a little bit more of your kind of more risque side, right, honey?
Yes.
Just a little bit more of that. So guys, I know that you're all going to want to hear that. And finally, make sure to follow us on Blue Sky Social at Cuckold Marriage Pod on Blue Sky Social. All right, let's get into the topic for today. So today we're going to be talking about boundaries, goals, introducing other people, all those kind of things. So we're kind of ping pong back and forth. So Lexie, I'll ask you the first question, then you can ask me one, and we're going to kind of go back and forth. So first of all, when we first started exploring this lifestyle, what boundaries felt most important to you emotionally at first? When we first started, what were the boundaries that you felt like they were really important to you?
Well, for one thing, Lexie doesn't share. So I made it very clear that if we were going to be having any sort of openness in our relationship, that it was not going to be both ways. I was not open to swinging. I am not open to sharing, and that was important to me. I don't really care how some people feel about it. Like, oh, you're critical. I don't give a shit. I don't care. That was something that was a non-negotiable for me, and thankfully, Chris was all about it, and he didn't want to be with anyone else, and didn't have any desire whatsoever to cross that line or be with anyone besides me forever. And so I'm like, well, great, that works perfectly. So that was a big one. Another one was
If I could just add on to
oh,
that
go
real
for
quick.
it.
So, like, I think that, to be clear, like, it wasn't like selfishness on your part, right? Like, I asked for this specific type of dynamic.
You did.
So in this type of dynamic, you don't need to share, right?
Right.
Like, I'm the one sharing in this dynamic. So it's not a desire that I had. It's not like I approached you and said, hey, but what do you think about swinging? And you said, hey, I'll have more fun, but you don't get to.
Right.
Like, that's not the way it went down. And not only that, what I mentioned this on the last podcast, you said initially, hey, I just want to be clear. Like, I don't need this. Like, I don't need other men. Like, I'm good. Like, it wasn't like you were going out there and asking for it, all that kind of stuff. Like, this was me initiating that. Like, I want to make
Yeah.
all that like super clear.
Yeah, no, absolutely it was. And but something that I hear often in my coaching is a woman's first suspicion when a man brings up, hey, what do you think about this idea? Her initial thought is, this is a trick.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just trying to, convince me to go out so that you can then go out.
Mm-hmm.
And, and I'm not okay with that, which is totally fine. But, that's something, just men be aware. That's something that is probably going to pop into, not always, but it didn't really pop into mine initially. I'm like, this is a trick. It's, I'm being set up. But a lot of women, that does immediately pop up like, wait a minute. You don't actually want a stag vixen cuckoldress relationship. You want me to go out so you can go out.
Yeah.
So, and that's obviously not usually the case. Usually the men that come forward with this are like, no, that's not at all what I want.
Yeah. We're not trying to trick you, ladies. Like, if we say that we're into this.
Well, some guys are.
Well, some guys are, but I mean, you should be able to sniff that out pretty easy.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell somebody who is stag or is cuckold pretty easy versus somebody who wants some fun on their own. And
to the rare man out there that does actually pull this shit, shame on you. Mm-hmm. Don't do that shit.
Don't do that.
If you want to play, just be honest from the get go. Don't try and like get the relationship to evolve, and then you get her to do another dude, and then you're like, well, hey, you had some fun.
Yeah.
Shouldn't I get some fun? Like,
totally.
Don't pull that shit. Don't do it.
Don't pull that shit, guys.
Don't do it.
I could see a guy doing that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So another one of my boundaries was, I said this early on, when we started to get going, and he was so excited about it. I was like, okay, this is not going to be the main show of our intimacy. This is not going to be everything that our sex life revolves around. I'm not okay with every time we're intimate, there has to be some talk of, me with another guy, or, me trying to be the wily cuckoldress, this is an aspect to our sex life, and it's fun, and it adds so much enjoyment and variety, but it is not going to be the central feature that takes precedence over everything else. It's not going to be every time we have sex, there has to be some sort of a cuckolding element to it. So that was a big boundary of mine. And I have seen that again in my coaching, where that becomes the norm to the guy. And let me tell you, fellas, girls, they don't love that. Like, if they are expected every single time that you are intimate for there to be a cuckolding dynamic in it, they're going to get tired of that real quick. It does not necessarily need to be every single time you guys have sex or oral sex or get intimate. It shouldn't be a forced performance on her part. Because most women don't want that. Most women, sometimes they just want to fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just want you to fucking roll on top of them and do it and just be you and her and no talk of anyone else, and then you're done for the night. Unsexy as that is, that's the reality.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that I think that guys need to grab a hold of.
Yeah. Agreed. Perfectly said.
Yeah. All right, my turn. So, was there a boundary that you thought you needed at first, but later realized it was really coming from fear or insecurity?
Pretty much all of them. So pretty much
Specific.
So I think that when we first started to date, we first started entering this kind of relationship, I think we said like no kissing or something like that. I think that was kind of our first,
yeah.
right? That went out the door like in 20 minutes.
It's not quick. I think it's
The first time we ever met a guy out. The guy who ended up being a bad. Remember we had the threesome, and he was not great.
I remember that.
Yeah, so you kissed him, which was our first ever time. So that whole like no kissing boundary lasted about 20 minutes. I think we had initially, what else are the other boundaries? I think we initially like said like no spending the night with other people, but like that went up to go.
I mean, I think the kissing thing, that was kind of a one-off, and it took us another 6 months before we broached that again, before I broached that again. He was fine with it after that. He was like, you know what? Never mind. It's fine. But, you know, I was, I think, the stickler for that. And that's okay. You know, sometimes not everything is linear in this dynamic. Sometimes, you know, you maybe do something and then maybe decide, that wasn't the best idea or something like that. Just in general, as a general thing.
Yeah. No, I think those were the boundaries that I kind of became more flexible on, is those, especially the kissing. Now I love the kissing. I think that's one of my favorite things that you do because it's so intimate.
Yeah, no, you pushed for that more than
I love the kissing.
That was your boundary.
And that's one thing that you have a hard time with because that's the last thing that you do with a guy. It's like if you have to really, really like.
Yeah, it's a very intimate thing to actually kiss, and so yeah, I mean definitely. But like you said, also the overnight. You know, that was a boundary of yours that it did take us a little while, but not long, but before we decided to overcome that and do that. And like we've talked about in the podcast before, you had your freak out. But then afterwards you were like, that was the best. Oh my God, let's do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Lexie, one question that I have is how do you make sure, like, what is your green flag for a bull being safe? Because I know that in this lifestyle in particular, safety is a concern, and we want to make sure that you're safe. So what are the green flags for you that a bull is actually going to be safe and okay to be part of our mix?
For one thing, you never know for sure. That's why you always bring protection, girls. We're talking taser. I'm just saying. Just saying. Girls listening, you always, when you're first meeting someone, you meet them publicly and you bring a taser that has like the alarm on it and all that good stuff. But things that I look for when trying to feel out a new bull, I look for one thing, pushiness is like an immediate no-go. If they are pushy with me, yeah, I'm sorry, that is your one-way ticket out of the chance of being with me. Pushy people are not in my world. I like patience. I like respect. I like boundaries respected, and it's non-negotiable. Also, you know, green flag would be sending pictures that are not hats, glasses, 40 feet away, you know, things like that. Things that basically scream, I'm in a committed relationship with a woman who has no idea what I'm doing, and I'm trying to get some play on the side. I don't touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Right.
Like, no, thank you. Go be trash on your own dime, like, or on your own time. Like, I'm not interested. Also, being respectful to Chris or whatever stuff that I am considering him for. Immediate trash talking and then just an over eagerness to just talk trash to or about the cuff is an immediate red flag, there's something wrong there.
If it comes right away. If
it comes
if
right
it's
away.
part of like a scene, that's a little bit different.
Right. But I'm talking before we've even gotten to the scene.
Yeah,
I've seen that. I've had symbols that are like immediately like, yeah, let's see what, pathetic little, what, like all these bad things. I'm not going to say them on here, but I'm like, whoa, dude, I'm sorry. Hi, by the way, my name is Lexie. Like we just met. Things like that. That's signs of maybe a little too much.
Yeah.
Also, I have had so many guys think that it's totally cool for them to push for no protection. What the fuck is that? I'm sorry, what is that? These guys are like, oh, I don't use condoms. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't use you. Like, what do you mean you don't?
And it is a thing in this dynamic that I've heard actually guys say, like, well, if it's not bareback, if you're not eating out like a cream pie, like it's not real. That is so stupid.
Yeah.
And so dumb.
It's
and
not
so,
real.
Like,
it's not realistic.
It's not a freaking porn movie. Like, sorry.
And not everyone is like on birth control, and
it's just dangerous.
It's dangerous out there, like protection. For me personally, for us, that's something that we take into account because we don't want our lifestyle to get in the way of our living, and so we wouldn't want something like that to prevent us from, living the way that we're used to. Oh, also, last thing, willingness to meet in public without expectations. So sometimes things are a bit transactional, and I get that. But if I am assessing able that I am actually considering wanting to see multiple times, maybe have more of a like intimate relationship with, if he is not willing to meet with me for fucking coffee or lunch or dinner or something in a public place without expectations I'm going home with him immediately that night, not always the best sign. Again, it's not pushing him. If I'm not worth your time to have dinner with me first, then maybe you're not worth mine. Yeah.
Hear you.
My turn?
Yeah.
Do you think most couples talk enough about emotional boundaries, or do they focus too much on physical rules?
Well, I think in particular guys focus too much on the physical because that's where a guy's head is. So a guy is always going to think about the physical stuff more than the emotional stuff, I think. And I think for women, sometimes that may potentially be the opposite, where the emotional takes precedent. Am I wrong about that?
No, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, a lot of guys are self-aware enough to have the emotional boundaries, the thoughts of the emotional boundaries, but a lot of times, no, the physical comes first.
But I think that more than that, guys, I think are, and guys who are in this dynamic, guys who are cucks are probably a little bit afraid of some of those emotional pieces. So like it's scary to think that your partner could actually get emotionally attached to the other person. But that can actually happen, right? So this is like my next question to you is around like, what are red flags? I asked you what green flags are for a bull. What's a red flag?
Well, I mean, the red flag in this case that we're talking about would be for the cuck. So, a lot of men have this fantasy, and it's a legitimate and awesome fantasy, but it's not meant for everyone. And so sometimes it should just be left in the fantasy realm. I have come across it multiple times where guys are like, I want my wife to go out and fuck these dudes, but she's not allowed to have a single second of emotional attachment.
Right.
She's not allowed to think any romantic thoughts, like she's not allowed to swoon. She's not allowed to be wooed. She's not allowed to have any emotional connection whatsoever, even temporary. And there is a line, of course. Of course there's a line. You don't want her, falling for and running off with some guy. That's a little different. But expecting her to have absolutely zero emotional investment, even temporary, in a guy that she is literally fucking, is not realistic. And if your thought is, okay, well, I'll just counteract that problem by she's never allowed to fuck the same guy twice. Maybe that's not her style. Not every girl wants to just constantly be out fucking a million and one dudes, just one after another like that. Like most girls are not going to be up for that.
Right.
And it's totally not taking her into consideration if that's your thought process. A lot of girls, they might be interested in, meeting one or two guys and maybe just being with them multiple times or something. So if your thought is she can't be even temporarily emotionally impressed and influenced by this guy for a second, then maybe this cuckold lifestyle isn't for you. Maybe it's best left in the fantasy realm, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's all sorts of fantasy and role play. I mean, this lifestyle is so, flexible and maneuverable and able to be taken to different places. So your girl does not have to actually physically be with another man for this to be fun and exciting.
Yeah. And if there is emotions involved and you're okay with that, like know that you will have a reaction. Like you will get jealous. You will, feel insecure. Like those things are going to happen. But if you have enough confidence in your relationship, it doesn't like shake it at all. Right. So like I had felt like that before. Like there's been a couple guys you've swooned over where I felt like that. But I knew you weren't going anywhere. Like not even for 1 second was I like, oh my gosh, someday she's gonna leave. Like I wasn't really worried about that. Maybe someday it'll get to that point where we will need to have that discussion, but it hasn't for us. And I highly doubt it.
I was gonna say what?
I highly doubt that ever will.
Yeah.
But, who knows?
So you've been thinking about it. But turning fantasy into reality takes more than curiosity. It takes direction. I work with couples and individuals to guide you through the conversations and dynamics that make a cuckolding relationship actually work. Those first conversations and introductions to your fantasy are especially critical. Done right, it changes everything. Done wrong, it can break it. If you're ready to do it the right way, book time with me at cuckoldlexie.com.
Is it your turn to ask me one?
Let's see. Yes. Have we ever had a communication mistake or misunderstanding that taught us an important lesson?
Yeah. So, so we go back and forth. We go back and forth between this no communication to communication kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so if we're not super clear about that, that can lead to trip up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, where it's because sometimes I'm clear where it's okay, let's not do check-ins tonight. Let's and that makes it easier for you because you don't have to worry about checking in.
Damn right, I'm busy.
And fun for me, but then sometimes I'm not feeling it. Sometimes I'm feeling more of that angst, and I'm hey, just update me just a little bit. And there's been a couple times where that snafu hasn't happened, and part of that is just because we go back and forth between that. I don't think it's definitely not you're trying to be a jerk or anything like that, right? It's just
no, really not, never. What?
We just miscommunicate, right? So
right.
So it's just miscommunication.
Right.
So
especially when we do flip back and forth.
Yeah. So we probably just need to get.
Depends. It's a situation. It really does.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like for us, it depends on a variety of factors that are personal to us as to whether that night he feels like having communication or not so much.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. And so I think the key for us on that one is just communicating before every kind of outing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because every outing is going to be a little bit different. Sometimes you go on a dinner date. Sometimes you go, hang out with somebody and you spend the night. Sometimes you go do something fun during the day. It's totally different. If you're rafting on a river or floating down a river, I don't expect you to be checking in with me, right? If you're on a date with a guy. So it's just kind of different, how it goes. But anyway, so the next one is just about And I know we've talked about jealousy before, but what do we think kind of collectively as a couple where you can see jealousy go from like, okay, this is fun to, okay, this is bad. I know we just had an episode on pet gangs, and we're not going to go deep into this, but just kind of in the theme of kind of these boundaries. Like, when do you scoot on that line on boundary? Like, can you tell with me when it's starting to go off the rails, like in terms of my jealousy?
Um, it can be hard to tell sometimes, but I think the healthy jealousy is the kind that is natural, but can be suppressed by the drive and desire for the rest that comes with it, with the lifestyle. And then the destructive jealousy is the kind that keeps you up at night and that can potentially take your relationship into a downfall because you're consumed by it. And all you see is red type of thing. You're starting to second guess everything she says. You're checking your phone every time she gets a ping. You're like, who's that? I think that can be destructive jealousy because that can destroy a relationship, and it makes her feel like, what? You don't trust me? Like, what the hell?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I agree with that. So let's go to this one, Lexie. How do we handle emotional check-ins before and after life experiences? Like, what do we do around check-ins? How do we do that?
I think that oftentimes I rely on you to let me know how you're feeling, and you're not shy about it. You let me know exactly how you're feeling before an experience, and then um so I often in our relationship I don't have to in the beforehand
Hmm.
ask you how you feeling, how you doing.
Hmm.
You will let me know if you are feeling a little angsty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Afterwards, it's more my job to read your body language, read what you're saying, how you're saying it, and it's my responsibility to see if I feel like there's anything there for cause for concern. Um, ladies, we do have a responsibility to our cucks to make sure that they have not become overwhelmed with angst or jealousy or anything like that, or fear that they're being replaced or anything like that. So I think that, especially afterwards, it's our job to read their words and their body language and try and see if we can see any sense of that. And then not everyone is like Chris, where they will tell you ahead of time, all right, I'm feeling really this, I'm feeling kind of that beforehand, on those rare occasions. So, it also is our responsibility to read those same cues beforehand and offer reassurance instead of just teasing, if necessary.
Yeah, and I think men, you have to remember that your partner is not a mind reader. So if you don't tell them how you're feeling, and trust me,
Absolutely.
like when you're in fantasy mode, like this all seems awesome. And it is. It's pretty awesome. But like when you're active in like when she's with a bull, like there is emotions that will happen when that happens when she's with another guy. And you've got to be able to express those. Don't just bat them down and pretend like they don't exist. So
Yeah.
make sure you're actually calling out those emotions and bring them to her attention because you may need to adjust something going forward.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. I know that we're talking about jealousy. One question that I have is, how do you practice reassurance? Reassuring me, making sure that I feel like I'm still a man.
Well, for one thing, and at any given time, if something is feeling uncomfortable, or too much for you, um, ladies, that's a time to say, okay, all right, you know what? We don't have to do this. There's no pressure. It's not like because probably were the one that introduced this whole dynamic and, one of this, it doesn't mean that, hey, sorry, you're on a roller coaster, strap the fuck in, we're doing this.
Right.
No, you can stop at any time, including right before meeting with a bull. Um, so reassuring him that, um, this is not in stone. We can stop we can stop this night that, you're about to meet with someone. We can stop the whole relationship if this is something that you have come to the realization that is not for you. And you wanted to try it, you were really about it, and you've realized it's too emotionally painful, it's too this, it's too that. That's okay. You know what? What matters most is our relationship, not the dynamic. So, reassuring that we can stop at any time, and also reassuring that there is no one out there that can replace him.
Mhm.
You are with him for a reason. Whether you're married or you're just in a relationship, you're with that person for a reason. They matter most. Um, no one can come between you.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, you do that so well. So let's see, I think we have time for maybe 2 more questions, then we're going to hit listener questions. Was
Let
there
me
one?
see.
Yeah, let
Um,
me ask you this one. What's the biggest misconception that people have around boundaries in cuckold relationships?
that if there are no rules, it means you're not in.
What do you mean?
Well, a lot of people think if you place any sort of rules or boundaries, then it means you're not fully into it, and that's BS. I mean, this lifestyle is made for you to put forth those rules and those boundaries ahead of time. It's safer. It's better for the dynamic, the relationship, if you put them forth ahead of time. It doesn't mean that you're no fun. It doesn't mean that you're not all in. It means that you can be totally into this, but still have some boundaries that are important to you that should be respected. So I think that that's something that people tend to think.
I completely agree with you. So a lot of folks who live in that fantasy realm, a lot of people who might be consider themselves cuck wannabes or even bull wannabes, especially I see this from, I think it's actually more from wannabe bulls than wannabe cucks, is that they just think that they can just use you for whatever the hell they want to do, and you're gonna just. But by you, I don't mean you specifically, honey. I mean they can use the wife, right? Like they can just do whatever. They're just gonna be rough. They're gonna call you names. They're gonna pull your hair. They're gonna do all this stuff, and then the cuck is gonna sit in the corner, tied up, blindfolded, and caged. Like it's just not reality. And so I think that's critical.
Yeah. If a couple is serious about this lifestyle but nervous about crossing the line they can't uncross, what advice would you give them before they begin?
Ooh, talk to somebody else in the lifestyle. So book a call with Lexie. I'm not kidding. Like, I mean, that's literally the right answer for this. Is talk. Shameless plug. Cuckoldrslexie.com. Book a call with her because if you're not 100% sure, and frankly, book a call with both of us. Guys, if you want to talk to me, reach out through the website too, because I'll tell you exactly what it's like being the guy and the emotions you're going to go through.
It's actually damn good at counseling and coaching.
And Lexie can tell you that too. What it's really going to be like, and I think that's the most important thing. You can read a bunch of books, you can and a lot of them just they live in the fantasy realm. Don't watch cuck porn as just, and I think that's what it's going to be like. It's not like that in real life. There's actually emotions in real life. Can you think of anything else?
Well, yes. So when couples are worried about, or one partner is worried about crossing a line they can uncross, the thing is that there is no rule that says that you have to start at level 50. Okay? Start small. Start from the ground up. Build your way up. That's the right way to do it, really. You try and cross lines as you get closer to them and start feeling more comfortable with them. It is a journey. It's not a destination. And so there's no rule that says that you can't start small and slowly start to approach lines that maybe you're like, oh, I don't know. You can get close to those lines to see how those lines feel before actually crossing them. And if you build your way up to where you're getting at least adjacent, then great. I mean, that means that you have a better idea of if that line should be crossed or not.
Yeah, for sure. I think that the takeaway from this conversation is set good boundaries to start and reassess those boundaries often as like especially like anytime there's going to be like a night out or a scene or somebody else is going to be involved, like even if it's just you two and you're fantasizing, you're doing role play, always do a boundaries check in. And then when you're involving another person, like look for those red and green flags that Lexie was talking about, because you have to be careful. Like the fantasy is one thing, but you also have to be careful with the person that you love, and you have to make sure that everybody is safe within this dynamic. So let's go ahead and move to some listener questions that we
I
have.
think we only really have time for one.
Let's see
Don't
here. Let's try to get two in here if we can. Okay. So this one is from. Well, let's see if we have time for one or two. This one's from Denver, Colorado. So my husband and I listen to your podcast together. Like I said, there's a lot of couples that listen. It's like really cool. So my husband and I listen to your podcast together during road trips, and it's road trips. How many road trips? Yeah. Yeah, like I mean,
They go to all the national parks,
right? And it's opened up conversations we never thought we'd have. What advice would you give couples who are curious about exploring power dynamics but are terrified of changing their relationship forever? So in other words, I think these folks, yeah, I mean that's a really good question. So they're not doing it, but they heard this, which is interesting because we're actually charting on the relationship chart, not just like the chart around cuckolding. So I could see and a couple who's actually not in this dynamic listening. So what advice would you have them about this? Lexie, do you have any advice?
I mean, I hate when you put me on the spot. Let's see. A lot of what I just said actually applies. That exploring the power dynamics, but scared of changing the relationship forever, bit by bit. Like literally, you don't have to take giant chunks. Just like take little bites. I do have a book, and I don't have it with me right now, but it's from Mild to Wild. 100 Ways to tease, control, and something your cuck. I don't know. It's been a while, but they give you ideas of ways to slowly develop that dynamic. At first, for a long while, just between the two of you, to start to get your feet wet and see if the dynamic is a good fit for you guys. It's really an exciting dynamic, and so you can stop at any point. But I think it gives a lot of ideas on how to maybe start changing the dynamic in a way that can push you closer to getting to where maybe you're cuckolding.
Yeah, 100%. And it will change your dynamic. Like that, that's a fact. Like if you enter into this type of lifestyle, like your dynamic is going to change. You're going to be introducing new people potentially even. So your dynamic is going to change. It will.
Even if you don't introduce other people, it will still change the dynamic.
Yeah. Okay, let's try to hit one more quick. This one is from Sweden, actually. Stockholm, Sweden. That's cool. What do you think? Why do you think some men become obsessed with anticipation and teasing more than the actual experience? For me, the buildup almost feels emotionally addictive. I totally agree. Sweden. Like, I am so with you here. Why do you think that is, Lexie?
It's just for me.
Yeah, I guess this one's more for me, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, first of all, how can we put this delicately? Once you reach the top of the mountain, and then that part is over, that is a very short-lived high. You know what I'm saying? Once you climax.
Oh, okay.
Right? And so,
Wait a minute.
all right, I was starting to be a little bit more just like gentle there, but again, this is a Cuckold Marriage Podcast, so we can't say once you come, it's over. But look, the anticipation, the lead up for me, because this dynamic, you said it perfectly, this dynamic is a game. So in this game, there's a lot of different moving kind of pieces. It's almost like a choose your own adventure book. So every couple pages, you get to decide, okay, what's my next move in this game until you reach the end of the book. And then the story might potentially be over. But with Lexie, it never is, because you're so good at like the aftercare and the teasing after and all that kind of stuff. But for me, the build up to that is awesome. And actually the tail, the aftercare and all that is awesome. I would say the sexual part is awesome too, but this is how awesome the whole experience is. That's the least awesome of the awesome. If that makes any sense. Like that part is really that part is a 10 out of a 10. Awesome. But everything else is like punching above its weight. Like it's above a 10. Does that make any damn sense at all? No.
Totally.
So in other words, it makes no sense. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
No, it does. Give me your
But
time.
just the anticipation is awesome. And I know a lot of cucks love it. So anyways, we are running short on time for today. But I think one of the biggest takeaways of this conversation is just, again, like I said, just set those boundaries correctly, from the start, and don't just dive into it. Don't just one night be like, all right, we're going to go do this. We're going to like a sex club tonight.
Bring home a man.
Let's just bring home a man. Like that happens like all the time.
It does. And you know what? Sometimes it goes well.
Yeah, sometimes it may go well. Sometimes you may just have a good night out and like it's great. Like,
sometimes.
but do you want to roll that dice? Like,
Yeah.
why roll that dice? Like when you don't know what the outcome is going to be.
Right.
So
Good.
plan ahead. Until next,
Discuss those boundaries.
discuss those boundaries. Until next time, stay open-minded, stay connected, and keep communicating with each other. That's the key. Keep communicating. Lexie, you want to say bye to everybody?
Bye, guys.
See you later.
I see it in your eyes, there's no way to hide it. Too many seconds you're wasting. Yeah, you don't need to fight it. I can tell that you're lost, there's no point in denying. I can see that you're lying, kinda cute that you're trying.